When we think of city gates in Dungeons and Dragons, we usually think that for some reason almost every city is a walled city. And when you think about the number of goblins, orcs and other stuff that want to kill you, that's probably a fair assessment. However, the reality is that a lot of places are going to make use of natural defences such as rivers. So in this case, I've got some city guard basically stood on a bridge going into the city. In this case, my bridge model isn't quite flush with the ground because I haven't built my new scenery yet. But what we've got here is a couple of guards guarding the gate, and they've got a table and one stool, which has been done deliberately so that they can't play cards. That's just for eating their lunch at. Now, in this case, they're having to tax everyone coming into the city, but they don't particularly want to do it. They've already collected a round of taxes this year. It's just that the empress of the city is particularly greedy, and she wants more gold. So she's instructed them to tax heavily anyone who isn't a human, because she's a bit of a xenophobe too. But the guards don't really agree with that. But they have a daily quota to hit, and as long as they hit that quota, they let people come and go. At the side of the heroes, of course, they see their opportunity to let everyone come and go as they please and get all of their gold in one shot. Are they corrupt guards? Not really, but there's a reason behind what they're about to do to the players as they try and enter the city. When we think of city gates, we tend to think of them as the outside periphery of the city. But if our city here is on the right, represented here by a dice tower, because, well, I haven't built one, what generally happens if the city is anyway successful is there's going to be buildings on the outside, and in some ways a city gate isn't so much the outskirts of the city itself, but is pretty much just defining the different quarters of the city. On the actual outskirts of the city itself, it's not plains and rolling fields and farmland and a road, but more housing. You get little towns. In some cases there might be shanty towns. In this case, we've got quite an established set of houses here on the road leading out of the city. And one of the things we tend to do when we're doing city games is we tend to think of cities as, where do you want to go? And then we'll start thinking up characters for that. But if players are going to spend any time in any particular area of the city, then it's as well to give a bit of life to that area of the city. So on the outskirts of this city, we have a little village, and it's just 3 houses because they're quite expensive to buy. I'm working on it. These 3 houses here, they have a little village green, and in the village green is a little bird fountain, and the children often play around the bird fountain. In this case, they're playing Ring of Roses. Mrs. Gristock here is currently giving a telling off to young Frederick, because Frederick just locked Mary in the Portaloo. Well, not Portaloo, what are they called? I can only think of the British slang term for them, and I'm not going to. So, the brick house, as it were, has just been cleaned out by Michael, and Michael wants to become an adventurer, and he's just taking the slop to the city river that runs along this edge of the city. And so that's another thing. Maybe that river's not too clean. I hope the adventurers haven't been drinking the local water. Albert here is currently fixing his chimney, and he's really struggling with it. He could probably use a hand. His wife is sweeping away the leaves, just trying to keep the path to the front door clear. They say it takes a village to raise a child, and, well, Mrs. Tavistock has been plucking a pheasant outside, keeping an eye on the kids. She didn't see Frederick take Mary into the toilet, though, and then bar the door shut. The beds in all of the inns have been taken because of the local festival of the moon, so the players are going to have to make do by renting out the bedrooms of some of the locals. Well, it's going to be a tight squeeze, but it's a bed. They might stay here, and when we look inside, we see the dinner table isn't yet set. There's a few sacks of produce, though, on the table. waiting to be ground up. One of the children is playing in the bedrooms with a little tambourine here. But this is not a wealthy house, as you've seen. However, stuck up in the attic there is an old beaten-up treasure chest. I wonder if there's a history behind that. And what's in it? Colloquially dreams of leaving the city. She spends a lot of her time on the balcony, looking at the fields afar and the forest on the horizon, and wondering what she could make of her life. Maybe she'd like to become an adventurer. Mr. and Mrs. Greavesham are having an argument about how to feed our adventurers. Mr. Greavesham, he wants to put on the cheapest meal possible, but Mrs. Greavesham wants to make a good impression. If they check Mr. Greavesham's study, however, they might see his reading material. And this is a man with other ideas about how the city should be run. He's actually a member of a resistance network. On the top floor in the bedroom, I'm afraid it's shared sleeping for whoever gets to stay in here tonight. The book left on the side is deliberately placed.